My best friend, Chloe said, "Our dorm isn't clean," told me to install an extra threshold at the entrance. She said ghosts don't know how to lift their feet, so they won't be able to enter. That night, my roommates all came back and called me superstitious. But who knew, as soon as the lights went out, a thump, thump, thump sound echoed, like a ghost kicking the door. My first night in the new dorm. In the middle of the night, I woke up needing to use the restroom, but I saw a man walk in through the door, then turn around and climb onto Emily's bed, my roommate. I was so scared I didn't dare move. Then, Emily's moans and groans began to echo, disgustingly loud. But I thought the dorm door was latched from the inside. If someone had picked the lock, I definitely would have heard it. It must have been her who secretly opened the door for that man in the dead of night. The next day, I pulled her aside and gave her a good scolding. She, full of indignation, dragged me to see the dorm surveillance camera. Sure enough, no one had entered. This was truly strange. That night, in the middle of the night, I again needed to use the restroom. Sure enough, the man came again. I immediately pulled out my phone to take a picture as evidence. Who knew this man would climb onto the bed of another roommate, Sarah? I screamed, turned on the light. My roommates all woke up. There was no man in the room. I took out my phone to watch the video I recorded. It wasn't there either. My roommates all cursed me, saying I was crazy. I told the story to my best friend, Chloe, who has some knowledge of the occult. Chloe immediately video called me, asking me to show her the dorm environment. After seeing it, her expression changed completely. Chloe said our dorm was situated against a yin mountain and faced the ghost gate, and with the four of us girls possessing strong yin energy, it was very easy to attract lustful and evil spirits. I listened, my scalp tingling with dread. Chloe told me to immediately go to the building materials market and order a threshold made of huai wood, a type of wood associated with yin ghosts in folklore, to install it at the dorm door. Ghosts don't know how to lift their feet. If they can't step over the threshold, they can't enter the house. I ran all over the building materials market, but there was no such huai wood threshold to be found. Just as I was anxious, I met an old carpenter with silver hair, Mr. Lee, who said he just happened to have one. He rummaged through his house for a long time, then pulled out a very old threshold whose size was just perfect. Overjoyed, I asked him how much it cost. Mr. Lee said, "This old, worn-out thing that no one needs, you can have it for free." I just want to know why you're looking for this kind of threshold. I thought this matter shouldn't be known by too many people, so I fabricated a reason, left him 100 dong, and hurried back. Back at the dorm, I quickly found tools to install the threshold. At this moment, my 3 roommates came back and asked what I was doing. I immediately told them the situation, saying, as long as the threshold is installed, ghosts will never be able to enter again. As soon as the 3 roommates heard that there were really ghosts, they were so scared that they turned and ran before even entering the room. I ignored them, turned off the lights. I lay in bed, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. It was then that I heard the thump, thump, thump sound at the door again. My hair stood on end. I carefully analyzed the source of the sound. It wasn't a knock, but the sound of feet kicking the threshold. It felt like a pair of feet was trying to jump over the threshold but couldn't, only the tips of the toes repeatedly hitting it. I was so scared I quickly burrowed under the covers, covering my ears tightly, not daring to move. Just then, my phone vibrated, startling me. It was a WeChat message from Chloe asking about the situation. I told her what happened. Chloe immediately cried out, saying there was a problem with this threshold. That wasn't the sound of a ghost's feet kicking the threshold. It was the sound of a ghost banging its head. It was the sound of a ghost's head hitting the threshold. If I'm not mistaken, this threshold must be a ghost threshold. A ghost gate threshold specifically used to open the ghost gate. As long as the head ghost bangs its head enough for 3 days, the ghost gate will open wide, and by then, all of us will die. I was utterly terrified and asked Chloe what to do. Chloe asked me where I met Mr. Lee. I told her. She scolded me for being foolish. How could there be such a coincidence that you meet an old man like that, who just happens to have a threshold of the right size and material? At that moment, I was numb and asked her what to do. Chloe told me to quickly go and remove that threshold, but I fundamentally didn't dare to go. My legs were like jelly. Chloe, out of options, told me to download an animated image of 3 incense sticks on my phone, then hold it up and bow 3 times towards the door to stabilize the situation for tonight first. Sure enough, after bowing, the thump, thump sound was gone. The next day, I took the threshold to find Mr. Lee, questioning him whether this threshold was really Huey wood. Mr. Lee was very honest and said it wasn't, but he didn't understand why I was looking for a ghost threshold. I slammed the threshold to the ground with an asterisk bang asterisk, saying, "This is the real ghost threshold. Last night, the ghosts were banging their heads all night. In just 2 more days, the ghost gate will open wide, and all of us will die." Mr. Lee said, "This threshold is poplar wood go duong, which sounds similar to duong in duong kai or yang energy. Compared to Huey wood, which one looks more like a ghost threshold?" I suddenly froze. Poplar wood, yang wood can block ghosts. Huey wood often associated with yin ghosts in folklore. Using it as a threshold is like building a bridge for ghosts. And your dorm is located right at the ghost gate. If you install a Huey wood threshold there, that would truly be opening the door for 100 ghosts. I suddenly found Mr. Lee's words very reasonable. Isn't Huey wood used to attract ghosts? When I was little, I often heard stories about ghosts in Huey trees. Why didn't I think of that? But Chloe has been my best friend since childhood. She couldn't possibly deceive me. I also couldn't doubt my best friend because of a few words from someone else. So I asked Mr. Lee what his profession was and why he knew so much. Mr. Lee said, "The hill behind our school used to be a graveyard, holding tens of thousands of wronged souls who couldn't reincarnate. My family has guarded the ghost gate here for 3 generations. Who knew this land would be built into a university? Those teachers don't believe in ghosts and spirits, they're impervious. They even built dorms there, and coincidentally, they're girls' dorms. All karmic connections are coming to fruition. Every year, a few people in our school mysteriously commit suicide. All of them are from your dorm." My scalp immediately tingled with dread. Because before, I indeed heard stories about people committing suicide at my school, but many universities have news of student suicides, so I didn't pay attention. I just didn't expect it to be the dorm I was currently living in. Who knew Mr. Lee would ask me, "Since you installed this poplar wood threshold yesterday, have your 3 roommates entered the house?" I said they were scared of ghosts, so they moved to another dorm. Mr. Lee smiled and said, "They're not scared of ghosts, they are asterisk ghosts. They can't step over this threshold." I felt Mr. Lee was starting to make things up. If my roommates were ghosts, then what was the man who entered the room in the middle of the night and climbed onto the bed? Mr. Lee saw that I didn't entirely believe him, so he told me to go back tonight and place the shoes of my 3 roommates at the head of each person's bed. 1 toe pointing inward, 1 toe pointing outward. If they're human, it won't have any effect. If they're ghosts, they'll get lost and never be able to climb into bed. I left, half believing, half doubting. I followed Chloe's advice, cut a Huey wood branch from the hill behind, and made it into a threshold. But when I got back to the dorm and was about to install it, I suddenly remembered Mr. Lee's words. Indeed, a Huey wood threshold seemed more like a ghost threshold. I didn't know who to believe. Finally, I decided to first test Mr. Lee's method to see whether my roommates were human or ghost. If they were ghosts, I would believe Mr. Lee. If they were human, tomorrow I would definitely report him to the police. So I put the Huey wood threshold away. I sat hunched over my desk, pretending to read, waiting for them to return. Sure enough, my roommates came back, first doing a quick check at the door before entering. This made my heart tremble. Could it be that they were really scared of that threshold? They entered the room, constantly complaining about how inconvenient it was to sleep in another dorm last night. Our own dorm is the most comfortable. They even asked me why I removed the threshold. "Aren't you going to guard against ghosts anymore?" I brushed them off with a few vague words. While they were changing shoes to go get ready, I placed their shoes as Mr. Lee instructed, 1 toe inward, 1 toe outward, hidden beneath their beds. Then I waited for lights out to see how they would get into bed. According to their usual habits, every day when they returned to the dorm, they would get on and off their beds at least 4 or 5 times. But today, they hadn't gotten on or off even once since returning. My heart couldn't help but begin to fear. But I thought maybe it's just probability. Looking at them still happily laughing and talking, they don't look like ghosts at all. I suspected I was overthinking. Just like that, it finally came time for lights out. My 3 roommates were still laughing and playing, refusing to sleep. I pretended to get angry and scolded them a few times. They caught on and stopped talking. The strange thing was that all three of them were bowing their heads, turning back and forth in front of their beds, but not getting on. I immediately began to fear. I mustered all my courage and asked Emily, "Why don't you get on your bed and sleep?" Who knew Emily would start sobbing? "What's going on? Where did my bed go?" My head buzzed, a sudden, ringing emptiness. Mr. Lee truly hadn't lied to me, but I had to pretend to be calm. I couldn't let them discover my trick, otherwise, I definitely wouldn't survive tonight. I continuously swallowed a few gulps of saliva to calm myself, intending to pretend to say a few words of concern. Who knew at this moment, Jessica, the eldest, suddenly pulled Emily back and said, "Are you blind? Isn't your bed right here?" Emily was still sobbing, trying to say something when Jessica suddenly yelled, "Shut up!" I shuddered, my soul almost flying away. Could it be that Jessica could see Emily's bed, or had Jessica discovered something? Fearing Emily might blurt something out before I could even react, Emily suddenly ran to my bed and said, "Laura, I'm scared. I want to sleep with you." Saying that, she tried to climb onto my bed. I was startled, sat bolt upright, and used a pillow to block the way onto the bed. "No, Emily, I'm even more scared than you are." As soon as I finished speaking, Sarah also clung to my bed frame and said, "Then let's all four sleep together. Our dorm is so strange, it's less scary if we sleep together. Jessica, you come too." I knelt on my bed in fear, continuously banging my head. "Sarah, no, please, I beg you." Who knew Jessica ignored Sarah and kept staring at their three beds. My heart pounded. If Jessica discovered I had played a trick with their shoes, I probably wouldn't survive this night. My mind raced, trying to find a way to break this deadlock. Who knew Jessica would suddenly look up and stare at me? In that moment, my soul completely disintegrated. I trembled and said, "Jessica, is something wrong?" Who knew Jessica would suddenly yell, "Run, there's a ghost." I immediately panicked. A ghost yelling about a ghost. I didn't know what to do. I just saw the three of them immediately rush out of the room and run away. I also hurriedly jumped off the bed, slammed the door shut with a bang. Turning around, I sank to the ground, breathing a sigh of relief. Just as I was about to stand up, I suddenly saw a person sitting on my bed. I looked closely. It was indeed the male ghost from before. I screamed in fear, struggling to run out, but the door was stuck solid and wouldn't open. Instinctively, I pulled out my phone to call Chloe for help. Chloe heard everything and immediately panicked, telling me to quickly install the hue I would threshold, then bite my fingertip and drip 3 drops of blood onto it, then bow my head 3 times at the threshold, my head hitting the threshold with a distinct thump, thump, thump sound. "Stabilize the situation for now," she urged. I said, "The ghost is already in the house. What good will a threshold do?" Chloe said, "Don't ask so many questions, there's no time." I looked at the ghost, who at some point had run right in front of me. I held the hue I would threshold and kept hitting, but always missed the ghost. Chloe yelled loudly on the phone, "Quickly bite your finger, put blood on the threshold." I hurriedly did as told, then hit the ghost again. With a thump, the ghost disappeared. At this moment, Chloe yelled, "Quickly install the threshold." I was like crazy, quickly installed the threshold, then bit my finger, dripped blood, and bowed my head. After doing all that, I held my breath and looked around. Chloe said on the phone, "No need to look anymore, it's blocked outside the door." Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. Then I recounted the day's events to Chloe. Chloe scolded me, saying, "All of this was a situation orchestrated by Mr. Lee and that male ghost. It's an illusion, a ghost wall illusion, created by them to make your 3 roommates unable to find their beds. There's no such thing as placing shoes upside down making ghosts get lost. If your 3 roommates were ghosts, they would have harmed you long ago. Why wait for you to discover them before acting?" I thought carefully and realized she was right. I also suddenly understood that when Jessica stared at me and said there was a ghost, it was because she saw the male ghost sitting right behind me. It wasn't a ghost yelling about a ghost. Oh my God, how could I be so foolish? But I didn't understand what relationship the male ghost and Mr. Lee had and what their purpose was. Chloe said, "If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Lee must be a ghost trainer, someone who trains ghosts. That man is the ghost he's training. Our dorm has extremely yin feng shui. It's an excellent location to discharge yin and train ghosts. Once 5 ghosts are trained, they'll be sold to wealthy people to help them make money. This is the legendary 5 ghosts carrying gold. And Mr. Lee tricked you into using a ghost threshold to open the ghost gate, probably wanting to lure out vengeful spirits to train, which could create billionaires." My jaw dropped. So, such an astonishing conspiracy was hidden here. Thankfully, I didn't betray Chloe. Finally, Chloe instructed me that every day I must drip 3 drops of blood from my fingertip onto the wood threshold, then touch my head to the threshold and bow 3 times, making a thump, thump, thump sound. After 3 days, the ghost gate will be sealed, turning misfortune into good fortune. I memorized it in my heart. The next morning, I woke up feeling truly unable to bear it, so I called the police to arrest Mr. Lee. Who knew the police would scold me, saying, "What's with a university student talking about ghosts and spirits all day?" I knew this story wouldn't be clear, so I decided to go find Mr. Lee myself to settle scores. I couldn't let him continue harming others. But then I thought, if I went there and made a scene, Mr. Lee would definitely guess Chloe's plan and find a way to break it. It would be better to wait 2 more days. But then I thought, if I didn't show up today and tell him about testing my roommates last night, Mr. Lee would surely be suspicious and might even come up with a way to break it. I thought it over and over, decided to go, then lie and return, taking the opportunity to probe what kind of person Mr. Lee really was. Who knew Mr. Lee didn't even look at me directly from beginning to end, nor did he say a single word. I ignored it, finished speaking, and left. Mr. Lee suddenly called me back, advising me to take the poplar wood threshold with me. "Tonight, the ghost gate will open wide. Perhaps it can protect you." I couldn't trust him anymore, nor could I be swayed by him into doubting Chloe. Who knew Mr. Lee told me, "You'd best take it with you. You might use it, you might not. Whether you survive tonight is your business. I've done my part." This sentence made anyone who heard it panic. I hesitated for a long time, but finally decided to take it with me. After all, as long as I didn't install it in the door frame, this threshold was just a useless piece of wood. Initially, I intended to throw away this poplar wood threshold halfway, but who knew that on the way, I was thinking so many random things that I inadvertently brought it back to the dorm. I ended up tossing it under my bed. It was at this moment that I remembered that today I was only concerned with finding Mr. Lee to talk, and hadn't dripped blood and bowed my head at the threshold. I hurriedly pricked my fingertip, dripped 3 drops of blood, then used my forehead to bow at the threshold. Thump asterisk, thump asterisk. As I was about to bow for the 3rd time, I unconsciously stopped. This sound was too familiar. Wasn't this the sound of a ghost banging its head that I heard that night? It was exactly the same. I immediately felt afraid. Not afraid of ghosts, but afraid that the person I trusted most was actually harming me. I raised my hand and slapped myself twice. "Laura, you can't waver anymore. You can't doubt the person you trust most, otherwise, what's the point of trust?" I lowered my eyes and looked at the wood threshold in front of me. Thump asterisk. I bowed for the 3rd time. That evening, my 3 roommates came back. They walked straight over the threshold into the room and sat down. Jessica complained, "What kind of weird teacher? What kind of weird school is this?" I didn't know what had happened. Emily said that Jessica had gone to talk to the teacher today about the dorm being haunted and demanding to change rooms, but was scolded by the teacher. She was even told that if she continued to spread feudal superstition, she would be immediately expelled. I quickly comforted her. "It's okay, Jessica. Just bear with it for 2 more days, and everything will be fine." Jessica looked at the newly installed threshold at the door, nodded. My heart suddenly lost its certainty. Lights out, everything was peaceful. Gradually, the steady breathing of my 3 sleeping roommates could be heard. My heart slowly calmed down. Just as I was about to fall asleep, thump, 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 3 consecutive ghost-banging head sounds echoed. I was startled and sat bolt upright, staring at the door. Yes, the sound came from that wood threshold. My heart suddenly panicked. Why were there still ghosts coming to bang their heads? Just as I was hesitating, the banging sound suddenly echoed again. And this time, the sound was clearly chaotic, as if dozens of ghosts were banging their heads together. Thump, 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 thump. I didn't know what to do. Frightened, I quickly took out my phone to call Chloe, but no one answered. I was about to go crazy. I suddenly remembered the animated image of 3 incense sticks I downloaded on my phone last night. I hurriedly opened it, continuously bowing towards the door. Who knew this sound grew even louder, and the number of them increased. I couldn't stand it anymore and called Chloe again. Fortunately, someone answered. Chloe said there was no need to be scared. "This is because you've blocked the ghost's path. They're just coming to vent their anger. Just endure a little and it'll be fine by morning." After saying that, she hung up. I didn't understand why Chloe had suddenly become like this, and in this situation, anyone would find it impossible to endure. I immediately got up, wanting to wake my roommate so we could stick together, but then I suddenly thought, with such a loud sound, how could they not hear it? Were they really pretending to sleep, or was there another possibility? I didn't dare to think further. At this moment, the sound at the door grew louder and louder. Thump, 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 thump. It felt like each thump struck directly at my heart. And at this moment, I also suddenly remembered Mr. Lee's words from today. Tonight, the ghost gate will open wide. Whether you survive tonight is your business. I've done my part. My resolve immediately crumbled. I flipped over and jumped off the bed, immediately pulled out the poplar wood threshold from under my bed and propped it across the door. Strangely enough, in that instant, the sound disappeared, leaving only the frantic thumping of my heart. I breathed a sigh of relief, sinking to the floor by the door, and couldn't help but burst into tears. I had never felt this lonely and desperate before. Even though my parents didn't love me since childhood, I could endure all hardships, strive to pass university entrance exams, and leave that turbulent family. I thought that no matter how difficult life was, I could overcome it alone. But I truly didn't know who I had offended. Even ghosts came to bully me. I wiped my tears. At worst, I'll die. When I die, I can also turn into a ghost. Then I'll fight back against the ghosts that killed me. Who's afraid of whom? Thinking this, I truly wasn't afraid anymore. I even opened the door and stood at the threshold, wanting to see how these ghosts would kill me. But the hallway was empty, nothing there, and my heart also inexplicably became empty. I went back into the room, lay on the bed, tears streaming down, but I still comforted myself. Go to sleep. In this world, no one can protect you except yourself. If heaven truly wants to take you, just go with it. As soon as I thought this, I suddenly felt a cold draft blowing into my ear. I immediately froze, and right after, another cold draft blew. My soul flew away. I knew a ghost had entered the house and was lying right beside me. How could this be? I've already set up 2 thresholds. What more do you want from me? I screamed in fear, but damn it, no sound came out. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move at all. I knew I was truly done for this time. That ghost kept blowing air at me. Until I fell into endless despair, completely giving up resistance. I thought I was dead. Who knew that ghost suddenly said, "I've come to save you. Meet me at noon under the big poplar tree behind the mountain." After saying that, it disappeared. I woke up with a start, sat bolt upright, screaming frantically. When I calmed down, I found no one in the dorm. I turned my head to look out the window. It was bright outside. I checked my phone. It was exactly 12 noon. I had slept until this hour. So, was that a dream or reality? I hurriedly got out of bed and went to check the door, seeing both thresholds still there. In other words, what happened last night was all real. So, could these 2 thresholds really block ghosts or not? If they could, why could a ghost still enter? If they couldn't, why did only one ghost enter? Even if it managed to sneak in, it should have come to harm me. Why did it say it came to save me? I was completely confused. I still went to the hill behind, because I couldn't understand why a ghost would arrange to meet me during the day. If it wanted to harm me, it could have easily taken me last night. I mustered all my courage and walked forward. From a distance, I saw a man standing under a large poplar tree. I got closer and looked carefully. It was indeed the male ghost. I screamed in fear and turned to run, but the male ghost held me tightly. He told me to calm down and not be scared, which I fundamentally couldn't do. He said, "If I were a ghost, how could I appear here during the day?" I said, "If you're not a ghost, why did you appear in my dorm at night?" He said, "If it weren't for me, you would have been harmed by your best friend and Mr. Lee long ago." I said, "If you want to kill me, just do it directly. My humble life doesn't need you to go to such lengths to make up stories." I couldn't take it anymore. If it really came to it, I'd just commit suicide. I sank to the ground, crying frantically. The spirit guide squatted beside me, waiting for me to calm down. I wiped my tears and looked at him. "What exactly do you want?" Who knew the spirit guide would pull out a picture and hand it to me? I took it and saw a traffic accident scene. The person who died was me. I immediately froze. I didn't understand what this meant. Obviously, I was healthy. How could I be dead? The spirit guide said I had been in a car accident on the way to school and had been in the ICU for several days. He was a spirit medium that my family had invited to summon my soul. Unexpectedly, your profound resentment of wanting to escape your original family was too strong. Your soul adamantly refused to return, instead coming to the university to enroll on its own. Even more unexpectedly, Chloe and Mr. Lee had set up a scheme here to imprison you. I had no choice but to project my spirit into the underworld to find you, precisely to bring you home. I was bewildered. I fundamentally didn't understand what he was saying. Even if what he said was true, that I died and became a ghost to enroll in university. Are my roommates also ghosts? Is our entire university full of ghosts? Is this some kind of ghost university? The spirit guide said. Yes, this is a ghost university, a gathering place for university students who died from various unexpected accidents. I still didn't dare to believe. Who knew the spirit guide would pull out his phone and open the news? It indeed reported that a new student named Laura from a university died in a car accident on the way to school. My mind immediately exploded, hazy and vague, a few fragmented memories surfacing, but unable to piece together a complete picture. I had a throbbing headache. The spirit guide comforted me. Don't be scared. As long as you listen to me, I can definitely save you. I hugged my head and cried loudly. I feel like everyone's words make sense, but each person is also full of suspicion. I truly don't know who to believe. The spirit guide said, this is very normal. Because you are still a living soul, a raw soul. Being human isn't completely over, and being a ghost hasn't completely begun. It's the intersection between right and wrong, ambiguity, yin and yang contradiction. Don't panic, don't be scared. I nodded. The spirit guide said the first time he projected his spirit into the underworld to find me was when I saw him climb onto Emily's bed. But he wasn't bullying Emily, he just happened to find Emily dreaming of an erotic scene. Because your resentment was too deep, it was very difficult to find you. He could only check one person at a time. I called Emily to confirm. Emily stammered, saying, that day she indeed dreamed of her ex-boyfriend, not some strange man. I began to somewhat believe the spirit guide. The spirit guide continued, I found you on the day you screamed the next day. I originally thought that after returning, I could easily summon your soul back. Who knew you would be enchanted by your best friend and Mr. Lee and install a ghost threshold at the door? I didn't understand. Isn't a ghost threshold erected to open the ghost gate? Shouldn't I be able to return more easily? The spirit guide said, a ghost threshold in the yang world, living world, is to summon ghosts, but in the yin world, underworld, it's just a normal threshold. Only a threshold made of supreme yang material can bring you back. But the poplar wood threshold Mr. Lee gave me on the first day wasn't yang, positive energy wood. At this moment, a gust of wind blew from somewhere, making the poplar leaves rustle. The spirit guide pointed to the poplar tree behind him and said, wind blows the poplar tree. Ghosts clap hands. The yin energy of poplar wood is even heavier than huai wood, making it dangerous. And Chloe knew your family had invited someone to save you, so she set up all sorts of ghost threshold situations to mislead you, making it impossible for me to break the situation even after projecting my spirit several times. I had to let your family continuously kowtow at the ritual hall. As long as they could break the ghost threshold, they could summon you back. I was suddenly astonished. Could it be that the thump, thump, thump sound of ghosts banging their heads was the sound of my parents kowtowing? The spirit guide nodded. My heart suddenly softened, and tears immediately flowed. Perhaps my resentment towards my parents was indeed a bit heavy, but I still didn't understand why Chloe wanted to harm me. What was her relationship with Mr. Lee? The spirit guide said, Mr. Lee is a professional underworld navigator, someone who travels between realms, specializing in helping some sorcerers do work in the underworld. And Chloe hired him to keep you imprisoned here, preventing your rebirth. Chloe and I had been friends since childhood. Our bond was deep. I didn't understand why. The spirit guide just said 2 words, jealousy. I immediately understood. I knew Chloe had been jealous of me since childhood. Apart from my original family, everything else about me was better than her. But I still didn't believe she would do something like that. Who knew the spirit guide would say, kind people can never see the evil in others' hearts. I was silent, but I still had one thing I didn't understand. Since Chloe and Mr. Lee were on the same side, why did they speak ill of each other? The spirit guide said, someone who truly wants to imprison a person will make her gradually lose herself in delusion. I was completely silent. The spirit guide took out a brand new threshold from behind the big poplar tree with a talisman pasted on it. He said, this is a peach wood threshold. a peach wood gate threshold. I specially brought it from the yang world. Peach wood is supreme yang, but spirits cannot touch it, which is why this talisman is pasted on it. He told me to take it back to the dorm now, immediately install it in the door frame, then remove the talisman and bow my head 3 times at the threshold. He would receive the signal on his side, then he would perform a spell to clear the ghost gate. I could then return to my body and be reborn. At that point, whether it was love, hate, gratitude, or resentment, I could confront Chloe directly. But remember, don't let Chloe mislead you again. Remember, after today, you can never come back to this state. I nodded firmly. I flew back to the dorm, looking at the 2 thresholds currently propped at the door. I didn't think twice, removed them and threw them aside, quickly installed the peachwood threshold, then carefully peeled off the talisman. I breathed a sigh of relief, preparing to bow my head. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was Chloe calling. I hung up immediately. I bowed my head for the first time. Thump asterisk. At this moment, the phone rang again. I continued to hang up, continued to bow my head for the second time. Thump asterisk. As I was about to bow for the 3rd time, Chloe's voice suddenly came from behind. Wait. I turned my head and saw Chloe standing right behind me. Chloe looked at me with tears streaming down her face. I knew her too well. I could tell with one look that she was genuinely crying now, not pretending. But in this situation, anything I said was useless. I was a living soul. I couldn't even clearly distinguish basic right from wrong. Everything will wait until I return and am reborn. But Chloe clung tightly to me, telling me to look closely at the picture in the news. After you've seen it, it won't be too late to bow your head for the 3rd time. I thought for a moment, opened my phone, and found the article again. I scrolled down and saw another scene photo. In that photo, Chloe lay beside me, covered in blood and gore. The text next to it read, "Another victim, the best friend of this university student. It is reported that on the way the best friend was taking her to the university to enroll, they unfortunately had a car accident and both died." I was about to go crazy, questioning Chloe. What in the world is going on with this? Chloe also cried loudly and said, "Actually, both of us are already dead. I knew you were timid, afraid you couldn't accept it, so I never told you. Otherwise, if yin and yang were separated, how could we make phone calls? If not, why would I suddenly appear now?" I immediately collapsed. Everything was too strange, too chaotic. I fell into panic and despair again, because I truly couldn't distinguish who was real and who was fake. Chloe said she especially understood my confused feeling as a living soul. "You're not like me. I might have some cultivation for self-protection. I originally wanted to come find you sooner, but because when I was alive, I performed rituals that harmed some ghosts and spirits. After death, they continuously pursued me for revenge, so I couldn't come save you in time. When you called me saying you saw a ghost, I knew a ghost trainer had projected their spirit into the underworld to look for living souls, because living souls are the easiest to catch and train. But I myself was in danger and couldn't escape to save you, so I told you to use the Huai wood threshold to block the path. I just didn't expect their cultivation to be so deep that they could collaborate internally and externally to mislead you. And currently, this Peachwood Ghost Gate opening threshold is their final move. As soon as you bow your head for the 3rd time, you will be led to their ritual hall and controlled. But they said I was in the ICU, not completely dead. They set up the ritual hall for my family to kowtow and summon me back. Chloe said she knew I had resentment in my heart and had always been unable to accept this death. But why don't you think, when you were alive, your parents still hated you, only wishing you would die? After death, how could they spend so much money to keep you in the ICU and still kowtow to save you back? What if they really changed? What if they really want to save you? I asked myself, then felt I was losing the argument. I cried loudly. It was at this moment that the thump, thump, thump sound echoed at the door again. And this time, each sound felt like it struck directly at my brain. I had a severe headache and collapsed to the ground. Chloe quickly hugged me, saying they saw I hadn't bowed for the 3rd time for so long, so they were impatient and started performing a ritual to lead me away. I couldn't stand the headache, so I quickly asked her, "Chloe, what do I do?" Chloe hugged me and asked, "So from now on, will you still doubt me?" "I won't doubt anymore, I only trust you." "Chloe, then can you accept your death and dispel your resentment?" "I can, I no longer crave anything in the human world." "Chloe, then from now on, can you listen to me?" I nodded. "Chloe, I want you to say it out loud, otherwise, if someone else comes along and says some nonsense, you'll waver again." "I will. I'll listen to everything you say. Chloe, good, she said. Once these words are spoken, they cannot be changed, otherwise you'll be struck by the five thunders and your soul will scatter. I had been tormented by the thump, thump, thump sounds to the point of mental collapse, so I continuously nodded. Yes, okay. After saying that, Chloe pulled me and flew out. I don't know how long passed, I woke up from a coma. Lying in a strange room, Chloe came over and asked if I felt better. I said my head still throbbed in waves. Chloe lit an incense stick and handed it to me, saying, "Smoking it can relieve some pain." I thought for a moment, took the incense stick, and only took a small puff before coughing violently. I caught my breath, wiping away the tears that came with the coughing. As I was about to take a second puff, I found that what I was holding was fundamentally not a cigarette, but another incense stick. My head immediately buzzed empty. I looked up and saw Chloe had disappeared. I was completely numb. At this moment, the voices of three people came from outside. The spirit guide. Success, success. Oh, it wasn't easy. I didn't expect this girl to be so difficult. Mr. Lee, if she doesn't completely lose herself, how can she be tightly controlled? This girl is inherently pure, upright in character. She's one of the 5 most difficult ghosts to find and train. Otherwise, I wouldn't have placed my eldest granddaughter beside her since childhood, setting up this 20-year scheme. Chloe, Laura, you've kept your word to me, accepted my offerings of incense and fire. You mustn't regret it, otherwise, you'll be struck by the 5 thunders and your soul will scatter. This time, I truly understood. In this world, you can't trust anyone but yourself. Although they were alive, they spoke only the words of ghosts. I stood up, intending to rush out and confront them, but as soon as I opened the door, a powerful force knocked me to the ground. I looked down. Installed in the door frame was the peach wood threshold I had installed in the dorm. I tried countless times, falling and bruising myself all over, but still couldn't step over this threshold. Side story 1 asterisk. Finally, I was trained into one of the 5 ghosts and sold to a fraudulent organization. Outwardly, they seemed to use business tactics and rhetoric to brainwash and swindle money. In reality, the ones truly brainwashing others were the 5 of us ghosts. We guarded the target day and night. In ways you couldn't see, we continuously manipulated your desires, emotions, good and evil, and sense of shame. And I was in charge of the good and evil part. Our first order was to manipulate a recent graduate, making him secretly sell his family's house to transfer money. But when he clicked the confirm button, he hesitated. The other 4 ghosts, no matter how much they incited and brainwashed him, couldn't sway him. They told me to act. Just adjust his concept of good and evil, remove that last bit of caution, and this order will succeed. I stepped forward and scolded him again until I woke him up, making him abandon the money transfer. The other 4 ghosts were stunned, constantly complaining. If you do that, it will implicate us and we'll be struck by the 5 thunders, because no one can escape the control of the ghost threshold. I told them not to be scared, then drew a talisman on their palms. Not only can it resist the 5 thunders, but it can also rebound against those ghost trainers. Sure enough, just as the 5 thunders were about to strike us, they suddenly disappeared. I knew they had gone to strike those ghost trainers. The other ghosts were even more surprised. So I told them to pass this talisman to other 5 ghosts, so everyone could escape the control of the ghost threshold, and help those who were brainwashed recover their sanity. The 5 ghosts carrying gold should transport wealth to the poor, not to evil people and those who don't lack money. Everyone nodded enthusiastically and immediately began to act. Finally, I smiled. A smile from the bottom of my heart for the first time in so many years. I endured all hardships, actively allowing them to train me into one of the 5 ghosts, just waiting for this day. Side story 2 asterisk. My father committed suicide after being swindled out of all his assets. My mother suffered severe bleeding during childbirth. There was no money for emergency care. My mother said, "Save the child, not the adult, or both will die." From childhood, I grew up in my aunt and uncle's house. They all said I had a hard fate that killed my parents, so they hated me from a young age, only giving me enough food to survive. At 18, I intended to jump into the river to commit suicide. I coincidentally met an old Taoist priest, Master Wei. Master Wei advised me never to die, saying I was already being watched by 3 ghost trainers. As soon as you die, you will be taken away, your soul locked with a ghost threshold and trained into a ghost. I didn't understand what that meant. Master Wei told me, you were originally supposed to be a little princess loved by your parents, living a fulfilling life. It's just that someone used the 5 ghosts carrying gold technique to control your father, which led to your life becoming this way. He asked me if I agreed to join him in setting up a situation to get revenge for my father and save thousands of unfortunate families. I agreed 100%. So Master Wei told me his plan. These ghost trainers often use the trick of designing illusions, brainwashing, and fabricating stories for you. After you completely lose yourself, they will use a ghost threshold to lock you away. But if you actively enter the scheme, you must carry out psychological self-destruction. You absolutely cannot let them discover it, otherwise, you will be permanently locked in the illusion and unable to escape. Most importantly, you will eventually truly die and turn into a ghost. Do you agree? I smiled and said, if I don't go to hell, who will? Master Wei smiled contentedly, then gave me a talisman for protection and to break the situation. Side story 3, asterisk. A poor, disheartened young man found a lottery ticket that won 5 million. Yes, this was done by me and my 5 ghost friends. Just as we were happily celebrating, Master Wei appeared. He said, you sacrificed yourself, saved sentient beings, your merits are immeasurable. You can be reincarnated into a wealthy family and enjoy glory and prosperity. I was moved to tears. My 4 little friends hugged me tightly, congratulating me, saying I had endured so much hardship, and I deserved all of this.